Hi guys, Olive here. Here today to bring you an original tag video. I know there have been 1,000,001 tags that focus in on Booktube, but I've been thinking lately. I just recently did my own Q&A. When I was thinking back on other QAs that I have watched from other Booktubers, I love watching Q&As, I noticed that viewers are often asking questions about the influence of Booktube in our reading lives. So I searched around YouTube trying to find a tag that asked questions specifically about the influence of Booktube in one's life, and I wasn't able to find anything, surprisingly enough. I searched pretty thoroughly. I apologize if there actually has been anything like this in the past, but because I was interested in answering questions like this, and I think it would be really interesting to watch other Booktubers answer these questions, I sat down and started thinking about what all impacts Booktube could have in your life. The questions kind of poured out of me, but I whittled them down to what I believe are the very best. My first question has an obligatory component, but also a component that I feel like doesn't get talked about a whole lot here on Booktube. So question number one is, what's a fantastic book you read off the recommendation of another Booktuber? But oppositely, what is a book that you have been talked out of reading because of a Booktuber's review? I read Margaret the First by Danielle Dutton off the recommendation of both Britta over at The Second Shelf and Jennifer at Insert Literary Pun here. My heart is breaking that she's backing away from the community. This is such an overwhelmingly beautiful book that I managed to find a piece of myself in. I can say with confidence that if I had not read this book and connected to it like I did, then I would probably still be without tattoos. I have a small snippet of this book tattooed on my shoulder, if you did not know. But I have also been talked out of reading plenty of books based on Booktubers' reviews. I am eternally grateful for that side of Booktube. There are so many different books out in the world, I don't have time to read all of them. So if a Booktuber that I really trust slaughters a book in their review or just makes it seem as though I'm not going to be interested, then I eliminate it from my TBR. Mercedes over at Mercy's Bookish Musings convinced me not to read A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Jenny King, as well as Claire from the Book Fox, both really did not like The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, and so I took that one off of my TBR. And once again, coming back to Jen from Insert Literary Pun here, she did a really great review of The Ministry of Utmost Happiness by Arundhati Roy, and I originally thought that would be a book I was super interested in. And while Jen liked the book, it wasn't a bad review at all. Everything she said about it made me pretty confident that I wouldn't like it, and so I took that one off of my TBR as well. Question number two, has Booktube opened your mind to or changed your mind about any genres? I now consider myself a passionate reader of the classics, largely due to Booktube. Before joining the community, I had stuck a toe in the water, so to speak, but it is largely because of Booktubers like Kate Howe and Katie from Books and Things that I now have a really deep love for the Victorians. When I visited my friend Steve Donahue in Boston recently, we were sitting in his living room, drinking wine, discussing reading and books, and then specifically discussing both Pride and Prejudice and Middlemarch, and I really surprised myself with how much I love these books, and I credit this to Booktube. Moving on to question number three, being numbers obsessed, you know I have to ask you some quantitative questions. So my question to you is, how much time did you spend on YouTube prior to Booktube, and how much time do you spend on it now? I really didn't use YouTube all that much prior to Booktube, although I have had my channel for a really long time. If you look at my creation date, I'm pretty sure it was sometime in 2006. I was around in the early days of YouTube. I was a big Lonely Girl 15 fan, and if you know who Dax Flame is, my God, do I have a story for you if you're interested. But right before I discovered Booktube, I was using YouTube very sparingly, mainly for funny videos, random tutorials of things I needed to learn how to do, as well as some recipe videos. I've always been a big fan of Chef John over at Food Wishes. So before Booktube, it would have probably been an hour per week maximum. And now I spend an hour per day minimum, probably between 1 and 3 hours per day. Question number four is the last numbers-focused question that I will ask you, and that is, how many books did you read prior to Booktube per week or per month, and how many do you read now? Prior to joining Booktube, I remember struggling to finish 35 books in a year. and now I read between 85 and 100 per year. And since joining Booktube, my entire perspective on how many books is a lot of books has changed. To an outsider, someone not in the Booktube community like my family or my coworkers, I am a power reader. But inside this community, I feel below average compared to what some of you read. My God. Question number 5 is, has Booktube affected your book buying habits? And if so, are you pleased or displeased by this? It sort of has, but then also sort of not, because I was a library book sale frequenter before I even joined the Booktube community. In fact, it's how I learned my way around my current city, by navigating to different library book sales. When I am at a library book sale, specifically if I'm in the fiction section and there's less room and time to browse, I am mainly scanning for titles that I recognize. If I see one that I know, I will pick it up and carry it around with me and then later decide whether or not I want to actually purchase it. But here's the thing. I know about so many more titles now because I'm a part of the Booktube community and I remember a lot of things. And so I'm picking up a lot more than I used to. But other than that, from what I can remember about my life prior to joining the Booktube community, I don't think I buy many more now than I did then. I've always made a decent amount of online purchases, especially when there have been sales. I've always had a Barnes & Noble membership. I have always bought a lot of books. I'm a bookish person, if you didn't know. Question number 6. Has a review by a booktuber ever retroactively made you reconsider your stance on a book? It is one of my favorite things about the Booktube community that I can hear people who I've come to trust over the years talk about books that I've previously read. And if I liked them or didn't like them, I get to hear someone else's take on them, and that makes me challenge my own take on the book. I distinctly remember hearing Hannah from Craving Books review Tampa by Alyssa Nutting, which is a thoroughly messed up book. But after watching her review, I realized that I hadn't rated the book fairly. I was honestly a little bit weirded out by the subject matter and didn't feel right giving it the 4 stars that I kind of wanted to give it. But when Hannah brought up all the positive points, it made me see that I was not giving it the right rating because I had feelings that had nothing to do with the quality of the book. I also get really thought-provoking comments in the comment sections of my review videos or my wrap-ups, anywhere that I'm talking about the books that I'm reading. It makes me think about things that I never would have thought of if people didn't bring it up to me. Without a doubt, I think it is one of the most valuable things about this community. Question number 7 is, are there any videos that you felt inspired to make after seeing another booktuber's video or videos? And have you ever felt inspired by another booktuber's style? That could mean their style of videos. It could mean the way that they organize their books. It could mean their personal style. Any way you want to interpret that. Booktubers like Jenny King, who make videos about things that make them happy that aren't necessarily just books, inspire me to talk about the things that I really love. Steve Donahue has helped me and continues to help me be just as excited as I want to be about nonfiction in this very fiction-dominant community. People like Jen at Insert Literary Pun Here and Britta have both inspired me to up my reviewing game. Jen Campbell's honest and compelling conversations with her viewers have inspired me to open up more. I could go on and on. Up to this point in the tag, I've mainly asked questions about the positive influences that Booktube has in our lives, of which there are many. But I also want to talk about the potentially negative influences it can have as well. So question number 8 is, what are some pressures you feel on your reading life because of your channel? This is a big one for me. Over the years, I felt pressure to read as many books as possible, to give the best synopses possible. I've told myself countless times that I need to absolutely finish the books that I'm reading by the end of the month so I can include it in a wrap-up. I have told myself that it is non-negotiable that I put up 2 videos per week, regardless of what else is going on in my life. In some ways, but only some, this pressure has made me really good at what I do. But then on the other hand, it can fill me with such anxiety that I feel like I want to crawl out of my skin. Obviously, that's not good, and this is something I'm actively working on. But back to the positive stuff now. Question number 9 asks, in what way, if any, do you feel the social element of the community has impacted your reading? And do you think about books differently since joining? I can comfortably say that it has changed my reading in just about every way. As I was talking about before, my views on books and on life, if we're being completely honest, are questioned more and more. It makes me re-examine the things that I think and feel. And as a result, I think it has made me more flexible and open-minded as a person and toward the books I read. But I can also say that Booktube in general has made me a lot pickier. I know what a great book is now. I know what it can do. I know what it can make me feel and the things it can make me think. And so my standards are way higher. Being a booktuber has changed me into someone who can zoom in on the heart of a book, what it's about and what it offers. But being a booktuber has also made me feel limited in some ways because I will shy away from reading certain things that I know I will not feel comfortable talking about in front of such a large audience. There are, of course, both positives and negatives. And the last question I would like to ask in the Under the Influence book tag is, what influence do you hope your channel will have on the Booktube community and aspiring booktubers? I hope that after watching my channel, people feel more excited about nonfiction and of course excited about the books that I love. But on a more basic level, I hope that my channel inspires other booktubers to pursue what they love, to talk about what they're actually interested in, even if they feel like they're going against the grain to do so. If my channel could provide that inspiration for even one person, I would be a very happy lady. So I guess I lied. That's not actually the last question. The last question is, of course, who do you tag? So I would like to tag anyone who I have mentioned in this video, but I would also like to tag a large list of booktubers that I will put in the description box below. But of course, if you are interested in doing this tag and I did not tag you, please go ahead and do it. And if you would do me a favor and put a link to your video in my comment section below, I would love to see it. Per usual, if you have any comments or questions about anything you've seen in this video or about anything in general, I would love to hear from you in the comment section below. Or you can find me on a variety of different places on social media. The links to all of my profiles are in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.